on YouTube. Welcome to our Sunday strength. I am, I had a little hiccup. So if you guys were on the other one, sorry about that little hiccup. I was trying to get on my laptop, but that's not happening today. So I wanted to get started with a different way actually than what I usually do. Usually I have some content for you that I am going to share with you. And instead, I have these questions that have been asked either to me or on my channel. And I want to it's been kind of sitting at my desk, and I wanted to kind of get these questions answered. I think it'll be kind of fun actually to answer some of these questions. And I haven't prepared for these questions, but I'm going to do it as if somebody asked me in session, because that's usually what happens anyways. Like somebody will ask this kind of question or what, or something similar to that, and then I'll give it an answer. And so the first question from my audience is, what causes misunderstandings in relationship? And so I mean, obviously, the easy answer on that scenario is that we're not communicating enough, and so that creates a lot of misunderstanding. But I'm going to go a little bit deeper than that. And a lot of times, misunderstandings in relationships come from two things. One is a me focus, so me focused on what I'm going through and what I've experienced, and that isn't necessarily like a something that we're saying, oh, you're bad for focusing on me. It's more of your body's trying to protect itself, and or you just have a habit of being focused on what you're going through and what your situation is. And when you try to communicate, or two people try to communicate, and both of them are focused on what it is that they're going through and not what the bigger picture is, or um, how we can make the situation better, a lot of times there's a misunderstanding. And so even though the question asks what causes the misunderstandings, even though I'm giving you what causes it, I want to give you how to undo it as well. And so the undoing is being more curious about what each of you is going through, what each of you has been through, and the more you're curious about what your partner is experiencing and the reason that this situation is happening, or the reason they're saying certain things, the less likely that you're going to have a misunderstanding. Another resolve for misunderstanding in relationship is to not need um, a scenario that you agree on. And so oftentimes there's a situation that happens where it's not that you don't really understand what's going on, it's that you don't agree with the person. And so you say like, I just don't understand. Um, when you could, if you put yourself in their shoes, and that happens if you're able to say, I don't I don't necessarily need to agree. I could just listen to my person. So those are a couple of ways for you to undo the misunderstanding scenario and to get to a better place. But what causes it a lot of times is our previous experiences and and the way that we see things and see the world, and we're not able to see each other's. And so anytime we're in a place of selfishness, and I don't mean that as a harsh thing, but anytime we're in a place of selfishness and not in service in our relationship, we're going to have a lot more misunderstandings in our relationship. All right, so the second question is, why does relationship communication break down? And so the question, from what I'm gathering, is that what's making relationship communication break down? And I think this goes back to our previous question, which is um, a lot of times we just come from two different places. And so you might think, oh, we're same culture. You might think, oh, we've been around each other for a long time. But the truth is, either one of you has seen everything that that other person has seen. And if we can't communicate fully what it is that we've experienced, then it makes it really hard to be able to understand. And the bigger piece is, a lot of times we think we're better at communication. I was just telling one of my coaches the other day is that, like, I assume that I'm a better communicator. That doesn't mean that it is clear for everybody else. And so I think that's a big deal for us to just be able to understand and say, like, hey, I'm not a good communicator. And the more that we can know we're not a good communicator, I think it'll help us to over communicate and communicate a whole lot more effectively. And that will keep us from having the communication breakdowns. Know your goal too of relationship. Your goal is to make your relationship uh, to make your relationship actually go well, and not necessarily make your relationship uh, be convinced that you're the one who knows what's going on in life, right? So instead, if I say like the purpose of me communicating is to make my relationship go well, I'm going to do it different. The third one was what fosters respect and comfort in marriage. So this is a fun one because I think a lot of times we're talking about what are some of the harsh things that have happened in the more that you are connecting in on a spiritual level and doing things like understanding the Bible together, getting a little bit more deep scripturally, you're going to grow a whole lot of respect in your relationship, and be comfortable with one another to be able to do that. And so I think those are things that help it. The things that would hinder it, would stop you from being able to have respect, is the way that you see each other and talk about each other and or to other people starts diminishing your respect. When you are able to acknowledge all the great things that each of you does, it changes everything. It keeps growing that respect, and it helps you to be closer to that person. All right, so the last question that I have here is how to maintain proactive communication in relationships. So some of those things I mentioned, I think Bible studies together as a couple, that spirituality would be a huge component inside your relationship to create proactive communication. But I always think too is don't wait until things get difficult. So if you wait until, if you're frustrated right now, most likely you waited for a little bit of time to communicate some of the things that were going wrong or hard for you. And so, if you can do things when things are on an even tone, so I say when your emotions get up high, then your thoughts drop out, and usually that doesn't look like a good scenario, and it's very difficult to communicate or receive communication. And whenever your thoughts go up and your emotions go down, then you're super heady and you feel disconnected. And again, it's not easy to communicate with you. And so, if we can communicate and create communication scenarios whenever we're on balance, then we're going to be in a good spot. And I think that's kind of the key is like be prepared for the hard scenarios to happen, and figure out how to do communication in those situations before it gets there. That way, you guys already have an emergency plan, and that really is something that I think all couples should have is have your emergency plans ready for when things get difficult in your relationship, and you could write them down together. You can text them together. Like just create scenarios to where if we don't agree on something, what do we do, right? If we are going to say negative things towards each other, like what should we do? If emotionally I feel like I'm not being seen, or I feel disconnected, what are the plans in those moments for us as a couple? So I think those things will really be helpful and help us to be proactive with communication in our relationships. All right, you guys. So I think those four questions were pretty cool questions to be able to answer. I'm glad that we were able to get. They actually come from everybody on YouTube asking questions, and so those are the ones that we have here. Enjoy your Sunday, and we'll talk to you soon. Enjoy your week. Bye now.